Moving on now, two international reports have suggested that China attempted to target the Indian health as well as energy infrastructure sector. The Chinese-backed hacking groups reportedly attempted to sabotage servers of crucial Indian companies involved in the making of the COVID vaccine, as well as targeting the power sector as well. Meanwhile, cyber intelligence firm Cyfirma has suggested that the IT systems of two Indian vaccine makers, Bharat Biotech and Serum Institute, were targeted by Chinese hackers in the recent weeks. As per their report, a Chinese hacking group called as APT-10, also known as Stone Panda, identified gaps in the IT infrastructure and supply chain software of the two Indian vaccine companies. The report said that the intention was to target the intellectual property to get a competitive advantage over Indian pharmaceutical firms. Remember, India produces over 60% of all vaccines sold in the world. Let me, in fact, go across to my colleague Afrida at this point in time to help us understand what exactly this report claims. Afrida, if you can take us through the details.
Yes, Avni, this sounds rather insidious, doesn't it? And like you mentioned, this is a cyber intelligence firm's report. What are the findings? First, gaps in software of Bharat Biotech and Serum identified. Now, remember, India is, like you also mentioned, 60% of the vaccine of the entire world is produced here. And these two big firms are clearly being targeted as per this report. Exfiltrating intellectual property is the real motive. So that is also being spelled out clearly by this report. Hackers want competitive advantage over Indian firms. The idea is to crack the code, to understand how things are working in these two firms, perhaps to replicate it, to duplicate it. That seems to be the idea. There is a motive involved here. And as per this report, the motive is exfiltrating that intellectual property. The other points that this report also makes is that vulnerable web servers of Serum Institute are targeted, and like I said, they want this competitive advantage, and those web servers which have certain weaknesses, which has vulnerabilities, are being tapped into. That's the larger picture we are getting from this report.
All right, Afrida, do stay with us. Let's talk about the other angle here as well. The second instance, now as per the New York Times report, there was malware attack related to the electricity outage in Mumbai. In fact, two cyber intelligence agencies had alerted the Indian government of a threat from Chinese groups, Red Echo and Shadowpad, following the Mumbai power outage incident. The centre's report had claimed that there was no data loss or breach in the incident. So, Afrida, if you can take us through the details of this as well.
Yes, so both these stories, Avni, is now making headlines that there are these very ill-intentioned motives and schemes that are working against India on the part of the Chinese. Now, in this report as well, what we are getting to know, like you mentioned, this is the Instinct report released on the 12th of February 2021, that there is a threat from a Chinese group called Red Echo. Chinese hackers targeted dispatch centers. Now, all this is being connected to the power outages, to those installations which are vital for power dissemination in India. There's the other center on Chinese hackers, where also what we are getting to know that there is no impact on any functionalities, no data breach or loss detected. But what is clearly exposed is that there is this sort of a conspiracy that is clearly at play to harm these important networks, whether it's the vaccine network or whether it is the threat of malware, which is called the Shadowpad, that is involved here.
All right, Afrida, thank you for taking us through all of those details.